Welcome back, everybody. Mandalorian Season 2. It's back. I'm excited for it. Super excited for it. And I'm going to do spoiler reviews on the Friday that when they come out. Thank you to David B for the music, by the way. So yeah, man, we're gonna really get into it. We're gonna try to do these live when we can do it. And joining me on these reviews, it's the killer.
Hey,
Kalinowski's back.
Morning, buddy. Morning.
Thank you for waking up there, sunshine.
Yeah, gosh, look at me here. I apologize. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to you about this, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Back in the day, back in college when we went to school together, like we were always, one of the things we did talk about was Star Wars all the time. So it made a lot of you do these reviews. I asked you, I said, how did you feel about season 1? You said, I loved it. It felt like old school kind of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So look, this is how we're going to do this.
Okay.
We are going to break down the episode. Again, reminder that it's a spoiler episode for everybody out there who's watching. So if you haven't checked it out, SEN will be doing a non-spoiler on it. So there you go. All right. This thing starts off right off the bat. And what we're going to be able to do to let you guys know, we're going to have a couple of screenshots for you too. So this thing starts off in The Mandalorian. He's already taken care of this kid. He's taking care of this kid. He's going to try to find exactly where to take him, and eventually shows up. And here's a Cyclops dude, voiced by John Leguizamo, played by John Leguizamo, which was great. And I love that they go into this. He welcomes him into the fights. They're watching the two Gamorreans battle it out with the axe, and then he's like, "Listen, just tell me where the Mandalorians are. Let's have a deal." He's like, "You like to gamble?" And he just says, "He's like, well, not if I don't have to do it." And they try to. When are these people going to learn, Mike? Stop trying to mess with the Mandalorian. They're going to learn.
It's so funny. Like, first of all, like the Cyclops, I'm like, have we seen his species before? Like, I couldn't remember where, or he looked like familiar or something from another movie that I've seen with that type of thing. So that kind of threw me off of it for a second. I didn't know like it was like Leguizamo until I saw the credits. Yeah. But he did seem kind of familiar, and they did that in season 1, the first episode, with having a famous comedian or actor in the which I love.
Yeah. Well, what did you think about this overall scene? The fact that, I mean, this is what I tweeted out. What I loved, I absolutely loved this episode. And the reason why I loved it is I thought it combined everything of what I wanted to see in a Star Wars television show in general when they announced it. It has that feel. It has the overall kind of adventure. It combines lore that we've known as like kids and how it continues on. But it eventually takes this main story of him trying to find where this kid goes. Can he find the Jedi? Can he find Mandalorians to help him? But it also puts together these side stories.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to talk about, but a crate dragon? I mean, come on.
I know. And it's like, they have such a great way of doing that with the show that for so long, the movies didn't do it. Like, I remember it was last season. I think it was the last episode. They had that vehicle that was a toy. Right. And they brought it into the lore of it. It was like they never had that before in any of the prequels or the original trilogy. It was just a toy that they used to expand the universe. To see that, and as a kid, when you played that and to see it show up and like that, and Crate Dragon, you've heard about forever.
And
you've always heard about it.
Yeah, and you've seen the skeleton, obviously, intact before, but to see it and the special effects were like next level when it came to Crate Dragon.
Yeah, and I don't. It's got to be because it's Disney and Star Wars, but just the effects of everything, And I remember because last year I didn't want to. It didn't ruin anything for me because the feel had such a location shooting. The whole movie, the whole series had such a feel about being on location, and to see that basically an LCD screen that they use to film in, but it's so well done. You can't tell. You just can't tell that's all on sound stages here in LA. It looks so good.
It looks so good, and the stuff, and we'll get into all the kind of Crate Dragon stuff a little later on. But he's watching the fights. They mess with him. He tries to. What? By the way, they showed this whole scene, a lot of it, in the trailer, and I'm so glad they did because it's the beginning, and you don't know anything else that's going to happen. And he goes and he basically takes them out with the Whistler again. Pretty easy. Ties them up. Though. It was very Commando-esque when he's like, "You got to make me a promise. You're not going to kill me." He's like, "You're not going to die
by my hand." Yeah.
The second he said that, it's over for this rat.
Yeah, and it was funny because I was talking to a lot of people, and there was talking about how with the voice and Pedro and who the two guys that do the body work, and for me, they're equal parts of the character because you see the scene and the way he moves and the way he fights. it's such a part of the character. Even when he walks in, he just has a swagger to him. And to me, that is the character. He doesn't need to speak, and he's still fully embodied. So to see him fight, and they do such good choreography with that fighting, and he's in a kind of a clunkier armor, but just to see how smooth he is in it, that's a testament to the stunt team and the performers.
Absolutely, and they have the baby or the child.
Yeah.
Put the thing up, says, I've seen this before. I know.
That was a great little moment.
It was great. So then he finds out he's got to go to Tatooine, going back to Tatooine. Yeah. By the way, this is what I love about this show. This show is not afraid to go back to old locations that we love, create new locations that we also know, like Navarro last year and these other planets. But I thought that's one of the things, and I'm not just going to make this. I know people get nuts when you start crapping on the new trilogy. I'm not looking to do that. But it was always, I felt like they were always afraid to go back to either Tatooine or Hoth because they're like, oh, you should try something new. But if you do it in a way that they do it here, because yes, do they play on nostalgia in this with the sand people and all the different things that you've seen? Absolutely they do, but I think they do it in a way we've never seen anyone talk and kind of mingle with sand people the way it does.
Yeah, it was all new. And I mean, seeing what we were going to get in the town, you need to be on Tatooine for that. I mean, to play into the story. Because I'll be honest, my first reaction was like, Tatooine, here we go again. But then to see what happened and what unfolded, and they took us to a new town, which was great.
And so with Amy Sedaris again, which I've been pretty vocal about. I don't think she's in all the way. This character, it feels like there's something a little off about the delivery. I think she's a phenomenal comedy actress. I think she's a great talent. And both times when she's both in Filoni's episode and now in Favreau's episode, it just feels a little off with the timing of it. It feels like a different show for a second. Not enough to pull me out of it and make me go, oh, that's terrible. That's just the character that she is. We've had those kind of characters in the prequels. We've had those kind of characters in the OT. We have those kind of characters in the sequel trilogy. So you just got to kind of, all right, well, that's who she is. That's what she's going to offer to it. And now you just move on. She gives him the speeder again. It's all clunky. And then he gets to this little town. Yeah. And our good friend John Rocca once said that this wasn't a Western. I think that's all put to bed.
I remember when he said that. How, knowing John and his love of Westerns, how he doesn't think this is a Western?
I think he just
is beyond me.
I think he misspoke when he.
All right.
But the overall thing. The guy walks into the bar in there, and there's the bartender, and he's just and it's set up the way that he just comes in on the speeder as if he's on a horse. He walks in there, you can hear like the kind of like the jingling, and he's just asking. Yeah, and he asked this guy about the Mandalorian. I hear there's a Mandalorian. What's what's the break on here, buddy? And then here comes this dude.
Yeah, man.
Did you lose your mind when
what happened was, because I told you a little bit before we were talking, like I had wanted to kind of go into season 2 blank. I didn't want to know anything. I know Ahsoka Tano's going to show up, Rosario Dawson. I remember Oliphant was being cast. They didn't say who. I remember there's talk he was Boba Fett. I know Tamora Morrison was cast, and then I just stopped. I didn't want to hear anything. So I was like, when he showed up, and then the minute he spoke, I paused. I'm like, wait a minute, who is it? That's Oliphant. But again, it didn't seem like Boba Fett. You're like, okay, something's weird with him. It's different. That's his armor, but just so cool. And Oliphant is such a good actor. I love him and everything he does.
It was hard for me to not think of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, though. Immediately, like, as I felt like they were in that scene. I was waiting for Leonardo DiCaprio to walk in, but no, it was a great scene. Having the conversation, and the second he takes off the mask, two things is going to happen. It's either going to be Tamora Morrison, or it's going to be like, wait a minute, what's the rules here? And then because Mandalorian doesn't sit down when he takes it off, because like this obviously, you were probably expecting to see a real Mandalorian. And so for those people who don't know, this is Cobb Vanth, right? So the second I knew that it was Cobb Vanth, and this is why I'm watching these in subtitles because
I always do that. Always.
For this reason, of course you do.
You put that in me. Freaking inner geekdom. I have to watch these things with subtitles.
But I'm watching this, and it's Cobb Vanth, and I go, they put Cobb Vanth in it. Yes. And for those people who don't know, this is and I have been singing from the hills for when will Lucasfilm combine canon stuff with comics and just put Saw Gerrera in something? Like, when are they going to take some of the stuff that a writer creates? And they did it. Cobb Vanth, they did it. And they've done it with other things, but this is something big to introduce to. Now, for those people who don't know, and I'm pretty sure that it's different in the novel of Chuck Wendig's novel of Aftermath, where Cobb Vanth shows up, how he gets the armor to what they did. And I'm fine with that. They still, it's in the novel. I think he comes across it in the desert, and in this, the Jawas give it to him. Fine. You don't want to switch it up a little bit, but the fact that Chuck Wendig was the one who came up with this, the understanding of it, it's not Boba Fett, but it sets up, well, what the hell happened to Boba Fett?
Right.
We might have gotten our answer in this episode. We don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that, like, the tension there when he took that helmet off, and you can't see Mando's face, but you're like, oh man, because they don't take him off. And here's this guy just casually dropping it off, said, I don't want to drink. You just knew, he's like, oh, this guy's dead. He's dead right now. He's going to take it off his dead corpse.
You thought so. And because the good thing with Oliphant is that you never know if he's going to be a good guy or a bad guy.
Right. He always kind of toes the line. Sometimes he's a good guy. Other times he's kind of that skeevy, like, but
one of those
looks so good too in that outfit.
Yeah, he could play both. It's because he's even throwing that Southern accent in there of just like how he's
right.
I'm taking this town was under attack, and they show that flashback of when the Death Star blew up, and I love that he referenced the second one.
I know.
it was the Jedi one. That's the one. But they flash back. They show it. They don't have to beat you over the head with the flashback, but enough to say, okay, this is how the guy did it. Did he find out? Did he learn how to use the armor a little quick? Okay, maybe. I'll give it a pass. But the other thing, the argument that could be made is the Mandalorian that we met in season 1, episode 1, would have maybe said, I'm not going, why do I need to kill the dragon? I'll just kill you and take the and get out of here. But since he's gone through this transformation, the kind of the heart that we've seen from him.
Right.
All right, I'll help these people out. I'll help this guy out. This is a fair deal. He seems like a good person. So they decide to kind of go on the adventure together. Did you like that angle?
I loved it. That's why I love the show. It reminds me of the classic stories of, and again, this is why I say it's a Western. It's the knight errant story of the guy coming into a town and helping the people out, and then he moves on his way. Those are the classic stories of our time. And to see what Mandalorian does with this, like, I love these standalone episodes like this, and it's part of the bigger tapestry. But there's just something about the lone hero coming in to help the town. It's classic. It's a classic story, but you don't get tired of it because people like the show and Favreau, they do different twists because they're enriched with the mythology of the character, and it makes him a better character. He's just not, like you said in season 1, come in, kill the guy, and take off. Right.
No, there was a lot of stuff. You could tell that there was so much love from all the things that you can picture the meetings of just like, he's got to go back to Tatooine. He's looking for a Mandalorian, but they do find the armor. Chuck Wendig had put this whole thing. Great, let's use the Cobb Vanth and put him in there. But what if they have to fight like because there's always in the old Wild West, and Favreau said this, that they wanted to pay homage to the things that inspired Star Wars, not Star Wars itself. And the old Westerns, there was always something that came in, like the old bad guy that came in, or some kind of problem that the hero would have to help with. And they do this, and they had this dragon. He's like, well, let's use a crate dragon. We've seen it, but we've never seen it. We have the technology. Let's make a crate dragon.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Let's fight. And you see it, because I did not expect from when, there was like the sand thing happening. I'll be honest, like when they're first underneath the sand.
Right. Yep.
Because they're about to battle. They're about to scrap and go, okay, you want to do this here? Let's do it. And I love that Cobb doesn't step down. He's ready. And then this rumbling happens. They sit out there together and they're looking at it. And I didn't know what it was. I'm like, oh, they're just going to do another monster. And at first I go, what's this going to be? It's just going to be like, he's got to fight this monster. But then they say crate dragon. And I go, okay, I'm in. You got me. So I loved that, because that to me was the start of, like I said in the beginning of this, here's this side adventure. It hasn't taken away from the fact that, look, he's a Mandalorian, true and true. He wants that armor back. And so Vance says, look, I get it. I've heard about your kind. I know what you do, but let's make a deal here.
Right.
And they kind of do this together to save the town, because it stays to what Vanth is all about, that town. Vanth is all about protecting that town. And so he's going to make a deal with this dude to do it.
And I love that, because we do go into a little bit of his story of what happened and why he's doing this. And he's kind of a man of honor too. And I maybe, to see that Mando, maybe he sees these, like, got these people there, this guy's taking care of it. And like we've seen before with Cara Dune and the other ones with that village and her taking care of it. And so she understands these people, and he's kind of, in 9 episodes, we've seen this arc of this guy changing. he's not who he was before, like you'd said in episode 1. But yeah, but then, like you said, bring him with the Sand People, and I love the fact that the speeder. I mean, of course, we don't know if it's Anakin's, his pod racer, the engine from it, but it looks exactly like it, so I could see a little nod to that.
Who knows? It's certainly possible. It's on the kind of parts. It was great when he showed up on it, and it's kind of like camaraderie where they're like racing a little bit, but he's telling him the story, and he's having. That's when we see the flashback. But I also like the fact that they're moving on to the Mandalorian's character a little bit, and they're going, look, man, this he just can't be this loner all the time. He's now made relationships, whether it's with Grief, with Cara Dune, now he's more open to it. He's still gonna watch his back because everybody's always trying to get him.
Of course,
but he's making these relationships, and he's not. And so they do that, and this goes back to what I was talking about with the Sand People. Even when he was going into the town, he has this relationship. And last season, he was never fighting him. And every other thing we've ever seen with Sand People, Anakin's chopping off their head. People are shooting at them, and they're always ready to scrap. He's the only one I've seen. He talks to them. Yeah. He has conversations with them, and he goes, "Look, yeah, they're barbarians. Yeah, but they are honorable people. When they make their deal, they do their deal." Right. And so he goes back in, instead of blasting up the Sand People dogs or whatever the thing they are. He sits down with them. They have that campfire, and the Oliphant scene with them. Like, you raided our village. Yeah, you killed everybody. We raided our village, and there's this great moment. He sticks the fire out, and he's like, "Dude, what? The dragon's gonna kill us.
Yeah,
figure it out, dummies.
You got a common enemy here." And I love the fact, and people, prequels, whatnot, if you love them or hate them, it fleshed them out. We saw the women and children in there too, and like you said, they're people, or they're beings that, whether they're barbarians or savages, they're still in their own little group, have a sense of honor, and it's just kind of, for like our world, just different races of people, and it's great to see that, to see those. It brought it back, even though it's outer space and everything like that. It's a human connection, and we can understand that
100%, because that's what it does. Instead of making like just like side characters, it makes you feel and kind of understand. And it's one of the things that I always want to see, and I hope that they do eventually. It might not be in this series because the Empire is on the run, but. Right. What they did very well in the comic books and in the novel is that and sometimes even in Rebels, you felt for some people that were working for the Empire, like in Lost Stars. You really feel in the novel Lost Stars by Claudia Gray, you really feel for some of these people because they were sold this false bill of goods, and they realize they're fighting side. You know what I mean? So like, the kind of stuff that that you're talking about, like we've always seen the Sand People.
And that's all it was.
You start to see a little bit more and understand the pack mentality that they have and what they do. So they have to maneuver, and they've got to team up with the villagers. There's that great scene of them when he goes in, and the Mandalorian and then Cobb, they go in. They have the conversation. It's going to be a tough sell to the villagers, but they let him know. It's like those old school movies where they're in the church.
Yeah,
church. Right. They're always like, we got to band up. We got to do it.
Why we got to help him? And he's like, because you're going to die if you don't. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you'll be dead. How about that?
Yeah.
You'll be dead.
Yeah.
So instead, they do it. They have that scene to show that they had that they have to have this common ground. However, and there is a great scene with the crate dragon up top where they're showing them where the cave is before they go back to the village. Yeah. And he brings out the
skeleton.
No. What's the frick? Oh my god, I'm blanking on the creature. The freaking oh my god, they're not the tauntaun. What the help me out?
The bantha.
Thank my.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know what you're talking about.
The brains.
Bring the bantha out.
Bring the bantha out, and they said they're going to sacrifice the bantha, and instead it eats the sand person, which was incredible.
But how cool was that they said it lives in a Sarlacc pits cave, and he's like, Sarlacc's never left his cave. It's like, yeah, it is if it's been eaten. That was fantastic.
Yeah, it's like, how big is this thing?
Yeah,
got to be, because when you remember the skeleton in New Hope, it stretches out. So anyway, so then you get to them going back, and like I said, even though they're moving together, it certainly seems like they were just like, Sand People, go ahead. People are chucking grenades and they're just getting wrecked, like with the mist, like here and there. And this is a couple dudes, like humans, going, all right, we'll do it.
They like throwing rocks and stuff. Now they didn't show any of it, but that stuff that was spitting out of its mouth, was that like an acid that would kill them?
Acid, I think so. I think they were probably trying to be a little less graphic, but
okay, because I wasn't sure, because like their numbers kept getting depleted. I'm like, oh, that's got to be some kind of acid. We're just not
Yeah.
seeing it because it's PG or
That's
PG-13
probably
or whatever.
There it is, and they're trying to fight this thing, and when you looked at it once it started, and I liked the difference of it. It actually almost looked, when you saw like the full shot of it, it looked like something that could have popped out of Lord of the Rings at one point, you know.
Yeah.
And so when they had that, and the fact that it did actually look like a dragon, and this fight that they're having, and they're like, okay, they just got to get it out. They just got to move it out there. As soon as we move it out, we can blow it up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that what they're going to do? And they did. They blow it up, and it's like, it's not gone. And I was like, oh, is it going to pop back up? And when Cobb turns to me and goes, I don't think we killed it.
Yeah.
And then Mando goes, I don't think so either. I'm like, okay, this thing's going on.
Like, it was a little anticlimactic at that point. You're like, that can't be it.
Right.
Okay, but it's a TV budget. Maybe that's all we're getting.
And they go, nope. It pops out of the mountain. And when they both fly after him,
the jetpacks are great.
And I looked at the television. I go, anybody that's complaining about this episode, you got two people in Mandalorian outfits fighting a crate dragon. I mean, are you kidding me? This is like, if I could hear the voice of our great friend John Schnepp. I could hear him going, "Great dragon!" I could hear it.
I know.
And it's like you see it, and just remember, like action figures, just using kids with a crate dragon. It is just. It was so great. How are they going to do it? How are they going to beat this thing? They're and everything else. And it was so funny because they shoot him at one point, and I go, "That's not doing anything." And
no, they were pea shooters to that thing.
He turns him and he goes, "This ain't doing anything." And so after that, they're going to figure out how they're going to be able to do this, how they're going to be able to kill this thing.
Yeah.
And then he's got all the detonators. And he's like, "You still got that detonator?" He's like, "Yeah." And he shoots off Cobb Vanth to kind of save him.
But at this point, I'm like, oh, okay, I know it's going to happen here. And that's what the great thing about the show. They always take what you think is going to happen, and they turn it on its head. I thought he was going to fly to the last second, then grabs the bantha, trigger, boom, done.
Right. And he swallows them, and I'm like, oh man. But the first thing I did think was like, well, even though he's probably, he's either avoiding this acid or the Mandalorian armor is that strong, one of the two. But he's in there. He's going to pop out at some moment. I thought the detonation was going to happen first, but instead he like electrocutes it.
Yeah, he shocked him or something.
Shocked him like he did in the first episode of season 1 to that thing. He shocks him, pulls back out, then blows him up.
Yeah.
The guts are going everywhere. That was pretty graphic. And the fact that the sand people are digging around with the meat, and he took some meat. He
got a big chunk of it on his thing.
Yeah, he took some meat.
He's got to feed the kid.
I love that. And he takes the meat with him, and but they find the egg, and they're just like, nope. You ain't growing another one of these.
Yeah.
No, great stuff. I mean, it was so, and again, I kind of geeked out again when he flew out of the thing's mouth. I was like, a Mandalorian just flew out of a Crate Dragon's mouth and blew him up. I'm like, that's why I'm here. That is why I am here. But it's not the thing that everyone's going to be talking about, even though it's a Crate Dragon. It's not the thing. The big thing that happens at the very end is to go back to what we were talking about, how he's got these new relationships with people. He says to Cobb, he's like, look, he gets the armor back. Cobb's a man of his word, says, you earn this one. So here you go. Yeah. I hope we cross paths. And he goes, so do I. Great line.
Great. And I hope so. I hope he's got to come back. He's such a good character.
Oh, fan. You're going to use him again if you can get him again.
But there was, like I don't want to say loyalty between the two men, but there was an understanding there. He's earned his trust. He's like, okay, you're not a Mandalorian, you earned the armor. You did, took care of these people, and you're a man of your word. And I like that. So I was like, that was great. I love seeing stuff like that. It
was respectful. It was absolutely it was respectful, and I liked it too. So the last thing that we see.
Yeah. Oof.
Now there's so much here. Tamora Morrison obviously shows up.
Yep.
And the first thought, which is probably the popular thought, and to my opinion, the most accurate thought, is that this is the actual Boba Fett.
That's Boba.
Because the other clones age rapidly.
Right.
He was engineered to not age rapidly. He was engineered to be exactly the same kind of off of Jango and
father,
be unaltered and
an unaltered clone. Yep, there we go. That's the word. Got to remember that.
Unaltered. So it's matched to probably the age that he is and how he survived and what he's been doing. We also saw with Ming-Na when she was saved or someone had approached her with the boots, assuming again that was probably Boba Fett. He's been living on Tatooine. Right. He's been there. Now, the other side of that is it's Tamar Morrison. He could play any version of any clone.
That's the great thing about the character.
Yeah. Now, some people say, well, could it be Rex? See, now Rex was much older at this point. And in Return of the Jedi, Dave Filoni has confirmed that old man was Rex. You know, the old man. Okay. And then they even in Rebels, they show him in Rebels, and he looks like that. Yeah, older and with the beard, and you know, could he have gone off to Tatooine and lived there, and that's how we get our connection to Ahsoka and you know, even to the other Mandalorians because he's got a relationship with Bo-Katan, who's Katie Sackhoff. Absolutely, that's a possibility. I just think it makes more sense how they get the armor. How do they get? That's
what I'm saying. It's the armor. It's, you know, and it could be, you know, misdirect, but I don't think so. I mean, but then, I don't know. But then we find the whole story of how did he lose that armor? You know, how did he save the Sarlacc? All that stuff. So what are we gonna have canon from what's, you know, because we know in the comics and the books they've brought him out before, but as they've seen, they kind of pick and choose what they want and make it to their story. So we'll see. We'll see.
So look, this episode overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm excited to see how it ties in. I like that they started with a kind of a side adventure because there's going to be a lot of side adventures then they did a bunch last season that connects. That's what happens in television. You're going to have side adventure that furthers the story, maybe just a little, but it's a side adventure. And that's what they did in this one. They started with one with Favreau directing it, writing it. Yeah. So off to a good start, in my opinion. I'll go out of this. If I'm going to schmo it, I'll go 4.4 out of 5 schmoes for episode 1 of The Mandalorian. What say you, Mike Kalinowski?
I'm gonna go a little more modest. I'll do a 4 out of 5. I want to start the bar because, like, and I say this in what I love about it, and for Star Wars, for me, this newer stuff, all the new stuff. If it reignites the passion I had as a kid, and when I watch those first movies, that's what gets me back. Because last night I'm sitting here, oh man, I want to build a Cobb Vanth armor. That's what I want to do. That's my cosplay. That's what I'm doing next. So it got me thinking, like, okay, I got to build that armor. I got to get the sash. So it brought those feelings of being a kid again and wanting to build and inspire creativity in me. And that's what Star Wars is at its best. At its best is that kind of level for me. So it's there. It's there.
Well,
high bar set.
High bar so far, and I'm excited for it. And I did like that it was about 54 minutes, which is one of the longer episodes we've gotten so far. I realized that I had the comments not off on purpose. We made it we are going to make all these reviews suitable for kids, but when you put that on YouTube, it shuts off the chat. So. So the chat will be on next week. But thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you, Mike, for joining.
My pleasure.
Today, and we'll be back every Friday morning, half an hour. Make sure if you're brand new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe, leave a comment, hit like. It helps tremendously. And make sure you stick around at 10 a.m. The SEN Live crew will be live, and they're going to be doing a non-spoiler review of The Mandalorian. They'll be talking about it for a little bit. Please join them over there. John Roca hosting, and he'll be giving his thoughts. So thank you guys very, very much for joining us here today, and very excited to keep talking about The Mandalorian. For myself, Mike Kalinowski.
It's going to be great.
We'll see you next week.
See you guys.